Hello and welcome to this game review. In this one we will talk about some captures and how to see them before they happen, and also we will see a couple of instances where some simple tactics were possible to win some material. So e4, this is good, developing the bishop to c4. Maybe we should start with knight f3 to restrict the opponent's choices, because now we are attacking the pawn on e5, so black should probably defend. Now f6 is played, but f6 is a very bad move because it moves a pawn unnecessarily and also takes away the square on f6 from the knight, which means this knight will have to go to a strange place now, maybe h6 or e7, while generally the knights prefer the center squares. So now knight f3, knight c6, castle, so very good by white, castling, developing the minor pieces, and now we should strike in the center with d4, to open up the rest of the pieces. Now we have two pawns in the center, we might go even further to take up more space. If black takes, we will start exchanging operations, and here it's good that we are opening up the center because black has only two pieces developed, while we have also two pieces, but also the rook may go to e1 and our king is out of the center, so we have what's called the lead in development. So this calls for opening up the position. So d3 instead, but this is maybe a bit too slow. d4 is a better version. Now d6, knight c3, which is a fine move, developing a knight, but maybe we can again strike in the center with d4. Okay, now knight a5. So black is trying to take this bishop, which is a very good piece. So we moved it with check, c6, and now bishop takes c6. But unfortunately, this gives up a bishop for a pawn, which is not a very good trade. The bishop is worth 3 points, while the pawn is worth 1 point, so we're losing 2 points by trading here. The bishop is currently attacked, so we should move it away to a4, and if it's attacked again, we can move it to b3. Now the knight can take the bishop, but the knight is also worth 3 points, so we're not losing anything here. And after we recapture towards the center, we can also open up our rook. So this was a big blunder. So this is the most important part of chess, to not give away our pieces and take the opponent's pieces when we have the chance. So now we are a piece down, but this isn't the end of the world yet. Now d4 is a good move to fight in the center, and now the opponent attacked the rook, and we thought about what the opponent is doing, and we saw that it's attacked. Rook e1 is a nice move, c5. And a general rule for positions in which we are down material, we should not exchange pieces, because the more pieces we exchange, the closer we are to an endgame, and in an endgame it will be easier to use the advantage of material than in, say, the opening. So now we are exchanging pieces. Maybe we should just develop something and try to keep the queens on the board. But okay, knight d5, bishop b7, and c4. So this move c4, it does give up a pawn, and the opponent took it, but this was kind of an unintentional trap. The pawn cannot actually be taken. Either way, we probably didn't mean for it to be taken, so this is where blunder checks may come in. And before making any move, we should imagine that we have made the move and think about the opponent's forcing moves, which are checks, captures, and attacks. And here the opponent can capture the pawn, so we should have been aware of this. Of course, now the knight is attacked 3 times, so it makes sense to react to it, but probably we should do something else. Okay, but c4, and now black took this pawn, and b3, and the knight got away. But instead of b3, if we look for checks, captures, and attacks for ourselves, we can see that we can check the king like this. And this is what's called a double attack or a fork, because we're attacking the king and also the knight. The rules of chess tell black that they should do something about the check, but they are not in time to save the knight. So if the king moves, we can take the knight, so we have one apiece. If he blocks, we can also take the knight. In either case, black is not in time to save both. So this was a big chance missed. Now b3, the knight moves away. So now knight takes e5. But this pawn on e5 is unfortunately defended, so we are now losing another piece. So instead, maybe we should have finished our development, putting the bishop on e3, or on b2, or maybe on a3, anywhere to involve the rook in the game as well. So, and while we are a piece down, the opponent's pieces are not developed, so at the moment it does not really count, so to say. The piece up will count if the opponent gets developed. But now we are losing another piece because the pawn is defending the square on e5. So now queen g4, h5, queen e2. Maybe we could be a bit more aggressive with queen e6 attacking the pawn. Okay, queen e2, a5. So the opponent is not developing their pieces. Now bishop a6 again, queen goes back to d1, and c4, and the bishop takes e7. But this square is attacked twice, but it is also defended a lot of times. So what this will happen is just exchanges of pieces. And currently we are down 2 pieces, so we should not really aim for exchanges. We should try to attack this king while it's in the center and while the opponent's pieces are not developed. So for example, we can go rook c1 involving another piece in the game on a good open file on the c file. And while this knight can't move anyway, so there's no point in taking it, as it is pinned to the queen on d8. So bishop takes c7. Now white exchanges a lot of pieces, and now it's easier for black to develop, as now the bad piece on f8 is gone, and now black just has to develop all of his pieces. Here g4 is not a very good move, as it opens up our king. Instead, we should think about how to involve the last piece into the game, so maybe we could move the queen somewhere, attacking something, and then the rook can go to d1, which would attack the knight. Instead g4, and now g5, but this pawn could be taken with a check, so we are not in time to take this knight. So knight f7 instead, and a few moves later, black plays this move queen c5, and this is again a pin, and we could use this pin to our advantage. We can notice this bishop cannot move, because if it did, we would take the queen, so we can put pressure on the pinned piece with rook c3 doubling on the c file, and now we are threatening to take the bishop, and we might get at least one piece back. Instead f4, but now the pawn is no longer in f2, so the rook is not defended. So instead black takes here, but now a rook is pinned anyway, so we cannot save it. Queen e1, and now we just lose all of our pieces. Unfortunately, this is a double attack, which the opponent spots, and he takes our queen, and soon we're out of pieces and we resign. So maybe we could have used a bit more time, as at the end we are left with 13 minutes. So this would be one suggestion, and otherwise we should look for checks, captures, and attacks in every game on every single move. So I would suggest playing with slower time controls. Chess is a very difficult game, and in 15 minutes time we cannot really think too much.